with the Idea Pros marketing team. Give me a little thumbs up if you can hear me okay. That way I can tell you guys are here with me. Excellent. Oh, there we go. Hi, Lindsay. Nice to have you. Actually, I'm going to get Fred up on the screen too. All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to have a live with Fred, who is co-founder and executive chairman of Idea Pro. So it's all Q&A that you guys have submitted. If you do have a question, you want to put it in the comments right now on the side, you can do that as well. And we're going to get rolling because we have a whole bunch of questions. Hi, Donna. We have a whole bunch of questions that people submitted. I'm going to just take a real quick second. Oh, good. I'm glad you hear me. And Aziza is here with us. Excellent. Hi. I'm just going to edit and show. Let's see. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay, we got the show feature. We can show the comments. That's good. Excellent. So we're going to go ahead and dive in so we have as many questions that we can cover as possible. So Fred, one of the first questions that that was submitted to us is about product testing and how much product testing you have to have with the demo only or not for resale before you can expect to have a market-ready product.
Well, that depends on the industry you're in, of course. When you have something like Steve's product that goes on people's face, you do want to have a little bit of testing involved, and you can typically do that in a non-professional way because you don't have the types of requirements you may have with some medical type products. But you want to make sure that all the ingredients that you have in something really are what they claim to be, and that you have something that is safe and that doesn't cause reaction, at least in most people. So in this particular case, you probably want to test 2 or 3 versions of it to really fine tune what it is that you have and make sure that it works well. For Steve's product, again, it's an Eclipse sunscreen. And in a case like that, you want to make sure it provides the protection it's supposed to. Those can be done in a lab. And then how it feels on your face and how it applies to you can be done with a small focus group. So you can probably get away with just a couple of months of testing and be done with it. With every type of product that you have, you really want to start out with a small group first if you can. You do some pre-sales, pre-orders, you let that nucleus group that, hey, we're giving you a really great deal on this, but we want your feedback. We want to know about your experiences. And then you can take the feedback that you get and fine tune the item that you have and figure out what it is that you need to do a little bit differently to make it exactly what people want.
Excellent. Thank you. Steve actually hopped on too. So I just wanted to say, Steve, we just did your question. If you missed any of that, it'll be on the replay too.
Yeah, it was great, Steve.
Great question. You missed it. No, I think he made it in time. And actually, Odin just threw in a little question about the focus group. I mean, how small of a focus group, when you say small, are you talking 100 or are you talking, what kind of numbers are we really thinking?
No, a dozen people is fine.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So another question that we had is exactly how good does a prototype have to be, or what condition does it have to be in to sell as far as a prototype? And I'm guessing this is pre-sale?
You're not going to sell a prototype. So if I understand the question correctly, or I'm going to change the question a little bit. The prototypes that you have are twofold, threefold. The first prototype that you have is pretty much a rough view of what it is that you're going to create. It may act like the final product, it may look like the final product, or it could do both. But it isn't the final product. In fact, we were just looking at a prototype here, and a couple of the guys in our group were saying, oh, wow, this is a little loose here, this is a little flimsy there. A prototype is a rough interpretation of what your final product is going to look like. You're never going to sell it that way. You just are looking at functionality, you're looking at appearance, you're making sure that what is going to be built follows along the path that you had envisioned. And if it doesn't, to understand why. However, as you get closer and you line up with a manufacturer, that manufacturer is again going to look at what you have, look at the capabilities of their systems, and then make their own prototype design that is going to be kind of a pre-manufacture version of it, so you can do all the fine tuning that has to happen at the end. That version of it is going to be a lot more sophisticated and look a lot better and closer to what you're going to do in your final launch. But when you do sell something, it's going to be the final manufacturable version of it.
Excellent. And we have a tiny delay, so I think I'm on the fastest internet I can get. So Fred, are you on the fastest?
Yeah, I'm on
Okay.
the internet connection.
All right. Well, good. Well, that's a great answer to the question. I know I was going to try to summarize it and push you over to where you could see some more information on the blog, and I cannot find that blog. So if my team could actually put in the chat the one about manufacturing, it was a manufacturing process. It talks about all the little stages that you go through, and something called breadboard, which is a little bit of like a working, functioning prototype, and then all the way through to when you get your product like packaged. So if you have any questions about that process, you can actually hop on our blog and check that out too.
Yeah.
So you can meet the team who helps to manufacture the prototypes and everything for Idea Pros. So excellent. And then we have another question. I know I'm going fast, guys. So if you, we have a lot of questions that people submitted.
We have several questions, and I wanted to try to address most of them. I know typically we'll take 3, maybe 4 bullet points and try to do that, but I wanted to hit a lot of these questions because they were all really good.
They were excellent questions. So that was Ahmed's question, actually, that I just went through as far as the prototype. And then Stefan had a question. What would you consider to be the most important aspect of any business?
Well, the most important aspect of any business, I'd say, is your foundation, which that is your ethics and your authenticity. For any business to make it, you need to be real. I don't care what kind of business that you have. You need to really be true to your customers, to be true to your suppliers, true to your employees. That is really the critical thing that you need to have for any business. And without that, no matter what you have, no matter how advanced what you have is, how groundbreaking it is, it's not going to end up being sustainable over time if you do not have that ethical foundation that you need.
I'm really impressed. I was thinking, I had all kinds of things running through my head, and I like that answer a lot.
All right, well, maybe I'll write it down.
I think we have an article about that too. And we did do, being honest and honesty and truthfulness as a whole subject that we covered too. So that was a question from Stefan again. And Craig asks, how much does it cost to get a licensing deal with the manufacturer if you're already making your product, but you want to make it faster or make more faster? Scalability, I guess.
The licensing deal is not going to depend as much on the manufacturer as a licensing company because most manufacturers don't do licensing deals. So, but the real answer to that is going to depend on the product that you have and how it fits with a company that wants to license it. We have about a dozen products right now that on Tuesday I'm going up to LA to meet with a company that wants to license a bunch of our products. In order to get to that point where somebody wants your product, it takes a lot of work, and you need to be well positioned. You need to have something that is unique in most cases. It could be a simple little product, or it could be something that's very complex. But you have to match that product with the company that is the potential licensor. And if you do things right, it's not going to not only not cost you anything, but you may get a check right at the very beginning when you sign a licensing deal. But again, you can't go unprepared. You can't go without your data. You can't go without showing that you have this incredible audience with this insatiable appetite for the product that you have. When you have that, especially in your case, when you said you already have some sales, if those sales can justify the licensability of your product, then all systems go.
But doing it too soon really it ruins that chance to get in, right? So you don't want to do it too soon.
Yeah, no, you got to be fully ready. You're going to get a lot of questions, and you're going to, even in a licensing deal, there are things that they're going to ask you that if you haven't really studied your environment and know the competitive landscape and know what customers are really looking for, if you haven't done that fundamental homework that I insist every single company does, then you're going to be kicked out the door. So when you go to consider any licensing deal, a couple of really important things. Number one, you have to know your stuff. And number two, you better have somebody with you that knows the ropes on a licensing level, because most of the time, if you can imagine, they get thousands, all these companies get thousands of people trying to license their product out, and you need to know somebody that can open that door for you. For example, with our company, we have a couple of announcements coming up. You know, one of our product lines deals with food and health products, and I just got two different groups together with us to work with us on those things, and they can open up all sorts of doors. You know, so even with my experience, with the fact that I'm very well known in those communities, to have somebody who's an expert in that field really can help incredibly.
Well, it shortens everything if you have someone that's connected in the industry, and that's really what
Actually,
Idea Pros can do too, as far as the specialists.
it doesn't shorten everything; it lengthens
Uh-oh.
everything. Because if you try to do it yourself, they're going to slam the door on you, and you're going to be done right away. But I know.
Right. Right, right. It works. But I think that Idea Pros gets you into those doors, basically, helps you to find the right places to be talking to. And like Fred said, he's got some that are going to, be looked at right now because
Yeah,
of that. So
yeah.
that's exciting. Excellent. Well, I know we have I see you guys putting questions in the chat too. So don't worry, I see you. We're going to get through these ones that were submitted early on the question and answer form, and then we'll get over to you guys. But I do want to say that this form is always available to you guys. It's not just on our Q&A sessions. You can always ask questions, and we can do topics around what you need. So don't forget to submit this anytime. But the next question that we had was from Sean Reed, and that was, when marketing apps, what's the most effective way of advertising on a budget?
Well, that's a tough one. It really depends on the type of app that you have, and who your potential audience is. In some cases, it may very well be hooking up with some social media influencer who's really deep in the space that you want to be in, especially if you have an app in the lifestyle, health, beauty industry. There's so many different social media influencers, and if you can get somebody involved with you that will, maybe you can even offer them a little piece of your company and a percentage of sales that get generated through them. That's a pretty inexpensive way that you can do things. And you can work with influencers that, not the ones that have 5 million followers, because they're going to cost $30,000 to have one shot on Instagram. You want to look for folks in the 25,000 to 100,000 follower range, people that have a lot of interaction. You can see with their every post, there's a lot of comments, there's a ton of likes. Those are the people that really have an engaged audience. And when you have an engaged audience, you have an audience that will really look at anything that influencer has to say and really consider it. So that's a real inexpensive way of doing it. With an app like Sean's app that we were just working on. Sean was visiting us this week. We were just working on it yesterday. And we had a nice dinner earlier in the week. That was really nice to get together with you and your wife. But and everybody's invited to come down. Sean can tell you what a great meal we had. I'll buy dinner if you come down. So, but in any event, in the case of an app like Sean's that is going to be very metro specific, it's revolutionary for communities, but you got to go into penetrate community by community to do so. Just like an Airbnb or an Uber, they went from metro area to metro area. They didn't just blanket the US all at once. So the most inexpensive way to get involved in apps like that is piggyback on other things. Like, for example, don't tell anybody, Craigslist. You can go and you can place little ads. In fact, there's a company that I worked with down here in San Diego called GoShare, and they basically it's an app where you can have people help you move one box, a whole house, whatever, and very much like Uber. You basically here though you say these are the things that I have. This is when I want to move. This is where I'm moving from and to. I think I need a truck this size. I need one or two guys, and then within an hour or two, you get people saying that they're going to help you and this is what it's going to cost to do so. The way that they penetrated a lot of the market is on things like Craigslist, where people are searching for somebody to help them move. And then you're featuring your app there and saying, hey, we can get you somebody to help move you quickly. And so those ads are free or they're cheap. And so any of those type of places where your audience is already living, if you can get into that spot very cheaply with a very small cheap ad or a free ad, that's a really good way to penetrate a market like that with a very limited budget.
We also have the marketing strategy, 101 marketing strategies that I put into the chat just a little bit ago. So check that out because that's some more ways that you can market, whether it's an app or not. And then we have the guerrilla marketing, so it explains a little bit more on marketing through unique tactics. And I know in a lot of places that are those kind of searching, you can actually get place cards in like hotels. If you have something that would be like people would be using when they come to the location, like Uber is in almost every hotel I've been. There's a little sign that says, come get your Uber Eats, and stuff like that. So another way to do it. Awesome. Well, good. And Sean, thank you so much. I know he said he had a great trip to San Diego, and I know you've done a lot of other comments in here, so I'm just trying to go back. I know Kelly said the same thing. She was there too. Thank you guys so much. I have some cute photos too that we'll put up for social media for Idea Pros from that. And the next question is, what if a person has an idea that could revolutionize a whole industry, but they don't have any, they need the financial help?
First of all, we all have ideas that we think are going to revolutionize an industry. That industry may not be waiting for you, however, and it's not easy. You're fighting sources that are already in place and already in power. God knows the car industry is a great example where there have been decades where people have put together more fuel efficient engines that operate on fewer parts. And now that we are getting penetration, obviously, with alternative fuels and electric vehicles, things like that. But there was a whole long period of time where no matter how good your idea was and how it could revolutionize an industry, there was no movement because the petrol industry would keep things like that down. And they would work with the existing infrastructure in a way that made it unreasonable for anybody to make a change. But let's assume that you do. And let's assume that you have a very viable, very willing community that you want to revolutionize. It takes money, and there's just no way around it. And one of the things I say about true entrepreneurs is that they find ways to make it happen. And it's not going to happen just because you have a great idea. You can tell somebody you have a great idea. You can even show them conceptually that you have a great idea. But if you haven't taken the time to do the research, the surveys, the design, the positioning, the competitive analysis, the entire process of building the skeleton of your organization and then throwing meat on it to show this is how this is going to revolutionize the marketplace. This is the competitive landscape. This is how I intend on approaching that landscape. This is how our consumers or the consumers that are buying these alternative products are going to flood the market with a demand for the product that I have. You got to, at the very minimum, have those things before you can go and talk to somebody about any high level of financing. In fact, everybody that partners with us, at the end of this, when we're ready and we launch, we're doing a first launch, and we're depending on some cash flow to get it moving along. But in many cases, you can use additional financing. But now you're going to go seek financing when you have something that's already working, that's already making movement, and it becomes a lot more reasonable to penetrate that marketplace. So if you have a great idea and you don't have any money and you don't have any way of getting any money, then you probably just need to table that idea and wait until you can figure out how to get it started. We have something on that as well, Tessa, like friends and
Yes, we
family
do.
financing, right? I think
Yeah.
something like 70% of all the money raised by folks like you was raised by themselves and secondarily friends and family.
Yes.
70%. And so if your idea is that good, if your idea is revolutionary, and if you don't have the wherewithal to go do it yourself, get a second mortgage, borrow from your 401k, sell the boats like Steve and I both had to do in our careers, do whatever you can to get that fuel that you need to get moving. Put together a pitch deck, put together a presentation. I think we have pitch decks on somewhere on our website as well, don't we, Tess?
We do. We have a
We got
lot
it
of
covered.
information. I
So
know
get
we've
a
got
pitch
all
deck
kinds of
together.
things. And next week I am on with Mike Corradini to show you guys how to have that conversation about getting funding. So if you are on, if that's what you are looking, if you need help on how to break that conversation with somebody who might be able to invest and get you, on the road to your product being launched, then stay next week, Friday at noon Pacific time.
Yeah. So
We
whoever asked
actually
that,
have a dialogue.
so whoever asked that question, tune in next week. But you're not going to do it without money.
Right.
And start looking around and start planning a little wine party at your home, and really hone in on your idea and why it's so great. And you're going to get that initial fuel that you need from the people around you: mom, dad, your uncle, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your coworkers. In one case, Brianna, who is building an amazing app that I can't wait to see finished. She gave notice to her boss that she needs to leave her work, that she's been working on this thing for a year and a half now, and we're getting close to launch. He asked her something about it. And when she finished talking, he said, "How much money do you need? I really want to invest in this." Steve Brown with Eclipse. He's got somebody that's trying to give him a whole bunch of money. We don't know if we want it yet, but the reality is those things happen because those people have taken their idea along to a stage where people can look at it and see what it is and understand what it is that you're talking about. So never go to anybody with a vague concept. Drill in on what you need to know so you can impress the people that you're talking to, and you'd be surprised how many wallets open.
We have we have all of this on the website. Obviously, when you are getting ready to prepare for that conversation, we do have a whole section that talks about how to get your thoughts in line so that you can communicate clearly and have the confidence when you're approaching somebody else about the concept, how to get down what you want to say in like a 30-second pitch, all of that. So if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, guys, you need to do it because all this information comes out on a regular basis. So every week we're launching new things for you as entrepreneurs. So on the website, just sign up for our newsletter. Sign up for the checklist right on the homepage. That'll get you all of this information. Yep. So yes, and that was Martin that had the question about financing. And then we have another question about, let's see. So this one's a little unique. It's what's the best way to know if you have a marketable idea? And I'll let you, Fred, decide what you want to talk about from that question because I know there is a lot. That one's like a twofer in there.
Yeah. Well, the best way to know is to have $10 million in sales, but that you have to get there. So it all stems with your brain and Google. You'd be surprised at how many people come to us. We've had close to 40,000 applications now of people coming to us, and they think that they have this next great idea. Nobody's ever done this before, and we'll spend 3 minutes on Google and find 14 of them already that sometimes almost identical to what they have. So do your research. Marketable and having a market that will exist are two different things, right? So if you can have a marketable product, if you have something where you can see there's an industry, there's a demand, and you are solving issues within that industry, and you are satisfying a demand that consumers have, you know that that's a product that there's a market for, okay? Taking that product and having it fit into the marketplace and making it marketable, meaning that people are going to start buying it, that's a whole nother thing. So it can't just be a demand, because you may not have the right solution. There's a demand, but your product doesn't fit the bill. There's a demand, but you don't have enough widgets and you're not hitting the strongest demand area, and somebody can come eat your lunch really fast. So the best way to find out, do your initial research. This is what I have. This is the market size. These are the competitors. What are they doing? I've talked about this so many times. How many one-star reviews do they have? What is there any commonality in what consumers are talking about in those one-star reviews? Do I have something that can address all those things and make it better? Can their one-star reviews be my five-star reviews? And is this a market that's growing? Or am I getting into the market for typewriters just as it's getting ready to fall off a cliff? So you have to be not only understanding whether or not there's a position and whether or not there's a market, but what is that market doing? And on a macro level, is it collapsing? Is it increasing? Is it just at the beginning of a hockey stick curve? Or is it meeting its heyday? So those are all macro things that you need to figure out first. And then the micro part of it, how do I fit into that equation? And when you have all those answers, you still don't know for sure, because you don't know until those checks come in. But you do know that you're on the right path.
Perfect. And that question was from, well, it was a combo. So Paul had asked some portion of that, and Jeffrey had asked a very similar question. So thank you guys for submitting those. I have one more that I'm going to squeeze in with you, Fred, and then I'll take a couple of the questions from the chat today, and then we'll wrap up. I know we're getting such great comments on the side that everything's really good advice for entrepreneurs. So how can I ensure that my idea won't be compromised is the question from Vivian.
By compromise, I'm assuming you mean copied, somebody taking what you have and stealing it. You can't. And the reality is that any idea can be copied. And if you look just about any industry, right, there's not just one toaster out there. Somebody made the very first one. There's not just one car out there. Somebody made the first one. So almost every idea can be copied. Almost every idea that is really good will be copied. There's no way around it. You can go get your patents once you get to the point where you have a manufacturable product. You can go get your patents and find some patent protection there. But in one of the products that we have a joint venture partner, and one of the products that they built, they had to spend $10 million in 5 years defending that product, and they finally won. But if you don't have $10 million, you're not going to be able to use that as your way of protecting it. So the way that you protect a product is by making it better, getting into the marketplace, building a loyal audience. You want to build a situation where people don't want to leave you. I just met a group of guys yesterday from Vietnam, and they're building well, they've already done it. They have a product in the beauty industry that's really, really, really good. But one of the components that make me happy about it and that make it likely that we're going to be partners, in fact, I'm going to give them an offer, is the fact that once this product is in place with a customer, it makes it very hard for that customer to leave you, because they're doing a lot of things for their beauty customers, and it's very hard to change once you're there and once you get going. So I like products like that that are really sticky, that have this great consumer. Well, stickiness is really the best word for it. There's an attachment to it because they utilize it over and over again. Look at something simple, and I know I'm getting a little long-winded here. Even the things as simple as your favorite toilet paper, right? I mean, it's paper on a roll, and everybody has their brand, and they want it. They want to keep it. So it's not that nobody else is selling toilet paper. It's that you, through the perception created by the marketing department of that company, have bonded with that experience. And so when you have a competitor, they're not only fighting, hey, my product's identical. They're not only fighting that, they're fighting the fact that you, if you're doing things right, you're building this loyal audience who, like Starbucks coffee, goes in there and spends the $4 instead of the 99 cents at 7-Eleven across the street.
Exactly. So one thing that we've covered before, which kind of goes into, I know you took the route of being copied. What I wanted to say is that we also have the confidentiality side. And
Yeah.
so what people think, they run quickly and go get patents. And what we talk about in this confidentiality article that I put in the chat is that isn't necessarily the best way, because you're also showing people how you do it. So you're giving, your competitors. So definitely watch that video on confidentiality and how to approach that. That included some information about, the non-disclosure or confidentiality agreement. So there's a lot of good information in there to watch.
Yeah. My answer was more about, once you get out there in the marketplace, to test this point, though, if you're worried about showing somebody this and having them run off and do something with it, first of all, don't show people that you don't trust. Secondly, don't go talking to people in bars. Third, when you're dealing with companies like our company, for example, we have a long history, a very solid pedigree. We have very satisfied partners that work with us. But yet every single one of them, we do an NDA right at the very beginning. Get that non-disclosure agreement up front, and make sure that the people that you're working with are people that have common interests that you share.
Wonderful. Well, and we actually had a couple people that came in from YouTube. So welcome, YouTubers. We're glad to have you here. And this is a Q&A session. We're almost at the end of it. I just saw your comments now about what questions can you ask. This is a place where we answer questions for entrepreneurs, and today happens to be an open Q&A session. So feel free to put questions in the comments. We may not be able to, because I know we're wrapping things up for today, but you definitely should catch us every Friday at noon Pacific time. So yeah. Thanks for coming, though.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think there were most of the questions. I'm just going back to see if I can grab anything from the chats, but I think most of them are just reacting to what you put up there. Again, I think we'll go back through all of the comments and the question and answer form. Every week we do look at it and see that we're on the right track for you guys. So feel free to submit on that form. And Fred, do you want to wrap up this conversation before I kind of put some people's highs and buys up on the screen for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're not going to put it on the screen for me because I've been running blind here this whole stuff.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So, but in any event, being an entrepreneur is tough. I've said before, you have to have two main features. Number one, you have to be a failure, and you have to be crazy. All right, because every one of us has failed multiple times when you try something new. It's just a general part of the deal. I mean, so you don't get involved when you ask questions about, well, I don't have the money. You got to be crazy now. You got to go. You have to not say I don't have the money. You have to say I'm going to get the money. You have to be willing to do things that the person next to you at your 9-to-5 job is not going to do. And that's the crazy part of it. And the failure part of it is you're going to be knocking on a lot of doors looking for that first $50,000, $100,000, whatever, $10,000, whatever you're trying to raise to help move your project along. And you get a lot of people telling you, no, you're nuts, get away from me, you're never going to amount to anything. So you have to be used to failure. You have to be different than the average person, but you have to be persistent. In every single one of these questions that were asked of us, there's a commonality there. Each one of these things require you to do your homework and to go repeatedly towards that finish line, and you will get there. If you're crazy enough and if you fail enough times on your way there, you're going to make it. So keep going, find a way. It's going to happen. Never give up.
Love it. Excellent. Well, I actually want to put up a note too. I know Aziza's on with us, and she mentioned that Raw Beauty Co. is going into pre-sales. Is that right?
Absolutely. We were just on a conference call earlier today, arm wrestling with Simon and marketing and how we're going to do that. But we are going to we're putting together holiday packages for it imminently, either late today or over the weekend. And you can buy the whole facial product line. It won't be delivered by Christmas, but you're going to get this really cool certificate to give to whoever you want, and you should probably keep one for yourself too, because it's an amazing deal. We'll probably be shipping around February, and the first people that are going to get involved, number one, you're going to be incredibly lucky because this is a product set that is amazing. It's all natural. It's all the best ingredients in the world. Aziza spent 5 years traveling the globe, finding all these botanicals and minerals and amazing oils, and we've put this all into Raw Beauty Co. The final product's incredible too. We just got the tops. It's all natural bamboo tops, all glass, amazing top of the line stuff, and you're going to be able to get it when it releases for probably less than half the price that it's going to go to on retail. And we're going to do that by giving away the serum that we have that is something that it's going to make you look as beautiful as me when you're done.
Well, I
No,
have to
just
say,
kidding.
I love this line. And
Yeah,
there's
thank you some.
so I'm one of the first people that's going to be buying those gift certificates because I
Yeah.
think this is amazing. It works really good. So I just had to put that up. Congratulations, Aziza, on that coming out for pre-sale soon. And we have we have a lot of partners actually. And I know we have Lindsay with JJ Jammers. We have Sean Reed. We have let's see, who else do we have? Well, hi, Rob. Nice to see you. And we have Bonnie. I think actually, so Bonnie had a question, but we're going to come back to that, Bonnie, because I know we don't have enough time to cover it. But and Crash Pad with Ken. We have us. I think that I can't even capture all of these comments. So thank you guys all so much for showing up today. And we will see you next Friday. But please, we are also live on YouTube and we would love to get our subscribers up. Please head over there and at least subscribe to the channel and give us a couple thumbs up on our lives so that we can keep that channel going and get all of this over there as a really big resource.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you all. We'll see you next Friday.
Peace.
Bye.